Today we're going to start on looking at this deck. So when I talked about I had my stash pile, you can see I put it on the Coyote, brought it in here. If I remember right, one of the spindles was really growly. It usually means a bad bearing. It's been sitting outside for a while. I took it apart intact. So first step is to get all this garbage off of here. First thing I want to do is get this belt off of here. Okay, belt is gone. Put this back in there so we don't forget how it works. I think these mounting bolts for this are welded up from underneath, so you don't have to worry too much about losing them. The other ones are carriage bolts, but at least you can get to them from the other side. One of the reasons why I have the deck up on these sawhorses here is so I can reach underneath of it, because these are carriage bolts that are in here, and you have to push them up, because as soon as they start getting loose they fall down and they just spin around. Looks like there's some washers underneath here, so I don't know why that is. Might have needed clearance or something. They're just all carriage bolts. Okay, the next thing is to get these cotter keys out of here, because even when you do get the cover off, you can't get it out. So there's a cotter pin here and a cotter pin there. Got to come out. Okay, we'll swing back. And you'll run into them and say bad words. Okay, here we are with this. That's interesting. I don't know what that is up in there. We'll find out. So either that's a little friend of ours that built a nest in there, or it's just stuff that kicked up from underneath. I'm kind of thinking it's just stuff that kicked up from underneath. Not a classic mouse house. So we'll just vacuum it out. Okay, now we have it down to this. Tension's being put on this pulley here. I have this elevated up off the where the blades hit, hopefully. Oh, I got one little hit over there still I have to fix. What we're going to do is we're going to unhook this spring, relieve the belt tension, and let's see if we can isolate some of the spindles. I went through the deck spindle by spindle and greased them. They hadn't had grease for a while. I use nothing but pink grease, that way I can see it when I'm using it. And when I put it in the fittings from underneath, nothing but brown gooky stuff came out, and then finally the pink stuff. Well, they still got some noise. I'm not sure exactly how much noise is acceptable. But this one here is still a little rough. What I did find though, in my stuff, was a whole nother spindle. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing now putting bearings in this spindle, replacing this, and letting these run as long as they can. I don't know. Let me go find the bearings, see what they look like. Found the bearings. I have enough for a whole deck. It's been a while since I've done this. I remember some parts being difficult, other parts not. This is for the center. Of course, we all know where they're made. Not in the United States. A little bit of blaster. May not help in the beginning to lessen the amount of force, but as the threads come up, it's going to get that on it, and she's easy. Thought it was going to give me a fight. It will, just not right this second. You have to remember there's two of them on here. Okay. Here we go. PB Blaster made it all the way down in there. Those bearings look like toast, but that's okay. No biggie. Well, we had a little malfunction with the press here. The spindle came out so quickly from the housing that it hit the camera. It bounced off the floor, ricocheted into the camera stand, and I don't have sound in this camera anymore. So I'm doing voiceovers. I didn't recognize the problem right away, so bear with me while I do voiceovers for the next few scenes. Thanks. Now we're going to move on to removing the bearings from the spindle and the spindle assembly, taking the races out, just using a big flat punch and going around in circles until the race itself pops out. That one's really bad. The blaster dissolved some of the rust, and that's why it's so brown. And flip it over and get the other one from the other side. Just be patient and keep hitting away at it, and it'll pop out. It's not too bad of assembly removal here. The next part though is getting the bearing off the spindle shaft itself, and that's the problem. So we got to mount it up here And our issue is we don't want to cut through that dust cap around the edge in between the bearing and my finger there. So what I'm doing is cutting the actual bearing itself, which is not too bad because it's thin metal and it's far enough away from the shaft. You don't have to worry about gouging the shaft out. Knock it away with a punch and just grab it with pliers. Whatever you have to do to get it out of there. It's trash anyway, so it's not a big deal. The hardest part is the next part, though, is getting the race off of the shaft. It's a press fit and there's no way you're getting a puller in there. The only way you're getting it off is to grind it and knock it apart. Again, be careful that dust cap is no longer available. So I just worked around a little bit at a time. It'll start to spin around in the shaft when you know you're in the area where it's getting ready to let go. Here we are, we're just going to press the new bearing on there after the old one is off. So we'll get on with it now. The camera has sound again. Here we go. Last bearing. Okay, we have the spindle rebuilt. Start getting this thing ready to paint. A little wire brushing probably won't hurt it any. Tape over my decals. Let's get on with it. Mower project's done for now. All painted up. A lot of the stuff's remounted on the deck, and it's out in storage until next spring. Late summer and fall, we had a major drought here where I live, and grass didn't grow. Normally, I'd probably be doing the last grass mowing of the year right now. But nope, not this year. We'll start up on this project again next year in the spring. We'll get the deck mounted, get the belt measured, what we need, and from there it should be good to go. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thrifty Suburbanite signing off.